Hello! In this unit, we will be talking about resumes and how to write an effective resume. In this video, we will start by defining the resume and talk about 3 reasons why job seekers need a resume. In later videos, we will take you through each part of the resume and how to write a clear and organized resume. At the end of this unit, you will write your own resume to describe your work experience, education, and skills. Let's get started with a definition. What is a resume? A resume is a written document of work experience, education, and skills. Resumes are usually only 1 or 2 pages long and give a short but detailed description of your past job duties and experiences. Employers often need to read many resumes, so they look for keywords or phrases to decide if they should interview the candidate or not. Why do you need a resume? Because there's a lot of competition in the job market. Job seekers need to create a resume that really shows their qualifications to an employer. A great resume is really important for 3 main reasons. First, a great resume will get the attention of the employers and show why you are a good match for the job. Employers will read many resumes from many different applicants, so you need to make sure that your resume clearly stands out to get the attention of the employer. Remember that your qualifications should match the job advertisement. If the company is looking for someone with 5 years of sales experience, you should have 5 years or more of sales experience, and say that clearly in your resume. The second reason you need a great resume is that it communicates your strongest skills and accomplishments to a future employer. Your resume should highlight the skills that employers often look for, such as technology skills and communication skills. Your resume should also include professional accomplishments or activities. For example, if you wrote a book that was published, you should put that in your resume. The third and most important reason you need a great resume is that it gets you an interview. Your resume is your first chance to get the employer's attention. Job seekers want to leave the reader with a positive first impression or a good feeling. If the employer likes what they read, they will contact you to interview for the job. The interview is your chance to meet the employer in person and give more details about your qualifications. In summary, a resume is an important document that describes your work experience, education, and skills. There are 3 reasons why you need a great resume: to get the employer's attention and show you're a good match, to communicate your skills and accomplishments, and to get an interview. In the next video, we will talk about the parts of a resume.
Hello. In this video, we are going to look at the resume in more detail and break it down into its different parts. We will also discover what key things you need to include in a resume. Let's begin by looking at a sample 1-page resume. Some resumes are much longer than 1 page, but for our purposes, we are going to stick with a 1-page version. In this sample, I hope you can see how the writer has used lots of white space, bullet points, and a limited number of fonts, so the resume is much easier to read. Let's look at a resume that doesn't have these things. Which resume would you prefer to read? That's right, the first one. Put yourself in the shoes of a possible employer who might read lots of resumes each day. Which one do you think the employer will prefer reading? So the lesson here is make your resume easy to read. Don't give a future employer an excuse to ignore your resume or throw it in the trash. So what can you do to prevent this from happening? Well, the first thing you can do is make sure that your resume has each of the following key parts. What are these parts? Well, the first one is your name and contact details. If an employer wants to contact you to ask you to come for an interview, here is where they will find your full name and information about how they can communicate with you, like your email address or telephone number. The next part of your resume is the headline and summary. This section is where you should write the job you are looking for and then include a summary of the skills you have. So, if we look at the sample resume again, you will see that this person includes the job title Project Coordinator and then gives a short summary of her work experience and key skills. The third part of the resume you need to include is work experience. Here, you can list the jobs you have worked at in the past, including your current job, if you have one. Current job means what job you have now. Be sure to list your work experience in reverse chronological order. In other words, list your most recent job first, the one before that next, and so on into the past. If we look at the sample resume, we can see this person listed her job from 2005 to the present first, and then lists her job from 2001 to 2005 after this. The final part of the resume that you need to include is education. Here you should include any high school or college degrees you received and the year you received them. If we look at the sample resume one more time, can you see what education Beth Smith received? She includes her associate's degree from Northeast Wisconsin Technical College in 2001. If you have more than one qualification, list them in reverse chronological order, similar to your work experience. So, you should begin with your most recent degree first, and then the one before that after. So, in conclusion, in this video, we have done a short overview of the different key parts of a resume. In the remainder of this unit, we will look at each of these parts in more detail. Next, we will have a reading on the basic elements of a resume, followed by a check your understanding exercise and a game.
Hello! In this video, we're going to discuss the first part of a resume, your name and contact information. We will talk about what to include and where to put this information in your resume. It probably seems very easy, but there's a specific format or order for this information in a resume. Job seekers should follow the standard format to make a professional impression from the beginning of the resume. To begin, your resume needs to clearly show your full name. This means that you write your given name first, followed by your family name. If you have a middle name, you can write it out completely or just use the first letter. For example, Sally Ann Smith could write her name two ways, Sally Ann Smith or Sally A. Smith. Most people include their first name, middle initial, and family name only. Often, job seekers will make their name a larger size or font than the rest of the words. This helps the employer or the reader to find the name very quickly. It is also common to put the name in the center at the top of the page. Another way to make the name stand out is to write it in bold letters, which are darker than the other letters. The next part is for job seekers to write their contact information, which means their current postal address, email address, and telephone number. The postal address is your official location where an employer can send you information. Your postal address is your house number, street name, city, state or province, country, and postal code or number. For example, here is Sally Smith's postal address, 100 Main Street, Los Angeles, California, 90210, USA. Your email address should be professional and contain your full name or at least a part of your name. For example, Sally Smith's email could look like this, sallysmith@email.com or smith@email.com. It is easier for a possible employer to contact you if your email address is similar to your name. For instance, flowergirl123@email.com does not appear to be professional or make it easy for the employer to remember Sally's name. For telephone number, you should include at least one number for an employer to call you for an interview. Sometimes job seekers provide a mobile number and a home telephone number. Here's an example of Sally's phone numbers. Her home phone number is 610-555-1212. Her mobile phone number is 610-232-5551. Giving more than one number makes it easier for an employer to contact you for an interview. Let's review Sally's name and contact information. If she writes her name in the top center of the page, she can put the rest of the information directly below it to look like this. In summary, we reviewed the first part of your resume, name and contact information. You now know to write your full name and include your postal address, email address, and telephone number. Next, you will watch a video about connecting employers with job seekers.
Hello again. In this video, we are going to look at using keywords in your resume. We will discover their importance when writing a resume. We will also look at some examples of keywords in both job descriptions and resumes. To begin, let's explain what keywords are. Employers use keywords when describing a job to an applicant. They describe the kinds of things they are looking for in a successful applicant. Do you remember the job advertisement from Unit 1? Let's look at it again. The keywords used here are related to the job being advertised. These include greeting clients, excellent organizational skills, good communication skills. Now, after reading this job advertisement, it is really important when applying to this position, you refer to these keywords in your resume and your cover letter. Why is this important? Well, because the employer who reads your resume and cover letter will be looking for these keywords to decide if you have the key skills and qualifications to do the job. Nowadays, many employers are using computer software to search through resumes looking for keywords. Without these keywords, these employers are not likely to invite you to an interview. Instead, your resume may go into the recycling can. And we don't want that to happen, do we? So, what can you do to avoid this from happening? Well, as I said, it's vital that you include some of these keywords from the job advertisement in your resume and cover letter. So let's see how we can do that right away. This is Yelena Hernandez's resume. She is applying for the Clients Services Coordinator position we just looked at. Has Yelena used any of the keywords from the job advertisement in her resume? What do you think? In the summary section, she says, very organized, lots of experience working in a busy working environment, proficient in typing and Microsoft Office software. All these terms refer to the keywords in the job advertisement. So, Yelena is doing a great job here using keywords in her resume. In conclusion, in this video, we looked at keywords and examined how it's really important to include these in your resume. Using these keywords will help you to get noticed by employers and give you a better chance of getting called for an interview. Next, we'll look at a reading.
Hello, in this video, we're going to look at the headline and summary section of your resume. We'll look at what information you need to include here and prepare you to write your own headline and summary. In the past, people wrote an objective in their resume. This objective described what the candidate was looking for in a job. However, nowadays, it is more popular to use a headline instead of an objective. Can you see what the headline in this resume is? That's right. In this case, it's Project Coordinator, someone who manages or is in charge of a piece of work. The headline is a phrase that highlights your value as a candidate for the position you're applying for. It is often the job title, which you want. It should be short and specific. Avoid making it too general. Again, refer back to the job advertisement and search the keywords there for help with this. The next part is the summary. The summary is a short paragraph where you can list your strengths and experience making you a better candidate. Often, the summary is followed by a series of bullet points listing your key skills. If we look at Abdul's resume again, we can see he has included both a summary paragraph and a bullet point list of his skills. Now, let's take a closer look at each of these things. In the summary section, Abdul has highlighted his strengths and experience. He says, highly motivated, 5 years experience in a fast-paced consulting environment, exceptional analytical ability, talent for managing information, certified associate in project management, CAPM certification. These are all things he wants the employer who reads his resume to see and then say, this Abdul guy is a great fit for my project coordinator position. Abdul then goes on to list some of his key skills. As we learned in our lesson about keywords, these skills should try to relate to the keywords in the job advertisement. The first set of skills he lists, the ones on the left, are related to project coordination or management. After all, he's applying for a project coordinator position. These include project coordination, setup and monitoring, and communication. The second set of skills, the ones on the right, are related to Microsoft software programs such as SharePoint, Project, and Excel. Overall, as you can see, Abdul makes a good first impression with the employer by writing a short and specific headline, a clear summary of his strengths and experience, and a bullet point list of his key skills. All these are directly connected to the job advertisement for the job he's applying to, and uses keywords from that ad.
Hello. In this video, we will show you how to complete part 3 of a resume, work experience. In this part of the resume, job seekers list job titles, their current and former employer names, locations, dates of employment, and a brief description of the job duties they had. Some job seekers call this part experience, so that they can include volunteer work, in addition to paid jobs. No matter what you call it, this section of your resume is the part that future employers focus on most to decide if a candidate is a good match for the position. It is important that job seekers are honest in the description of their duties because hiring officials often check with past employers. Because a resume is only 1 or 2 pages long, it may not be possible to list all of your experiences. You will need to choose the ones that best show your skills for the job. Job seekers list their experience in reverse chronological order. This means they start with their current or most recent job, then the list continues backwards by time order. Each entry is separate, but contains all of the following information: job title, employer name, location, dates of employment, and a brief description of the job duties. Here is Tomoko's resume and description of her experience. As you can see, she listed 3 separate experiences, one of which is a volunteer job. Look at the first experience. On one line, she lists the job title, office assistant, then the employer and the location together, University of California English Language Programs, followed by the years of employment, 2009 to present. The next lines are verb phrases that clearly describe what she does or did. Notice the use of present tense verbs because this is her current job. You should also notice that the verbs used are called action verbs because they clearly explain what a person is doing. Her verb choices manage, develop, and train are actions that also show some of her skills as an employee. From this list, an employer would learn that she has computer skills and she can work well with a lot of other people. We will learn more about action verbs in video 8. When describing experience, many job seekers use a bullet list of 3 to 5 lines. There is no punctuation at the end because these are not complete sentences. It is important to be as clear and detailed as possible, but in a small amount of space. Remember that employers want to know how you are different from other candidates. Think about what you have done well in past experiences and include those details with strong verbs. For example, did you make your company more efficient or organized? For example, look at Tomoko's second experience as a program assistant. You can see that she has arranged special events and organized the office to be more efficient. These actions show the reader that she is well organized. This is an example of personal trait skill that is valuable to many employers. Let's review what you should include in Part 3 work experience. Begin with your current or most recent job and continue to list experiences backwards in time order. For each experience that you include, Write the job title, the employer name, location, date of employment, and a brief description of the job.
Hello! In this video, we'll be talking about the fourth part of a resume, education. This part of the resume is very important for current students, recent university graduates, or people with little work experience. For people with a lot of work experience, the education section shows that they meet the required education level. Job advertisements usually have a required degree as part of the qualifications for the job. Job seekers list each educational experience they have had and include the name of the school, the location, the degree received, major or subject of specialty, and the year of graduation. Those who received high grades or special honors during their education sometimes include those awards in this section. The development of the education part of the resume often shows future employers your academic performance, management and technical abilities, and general areas of interest. There are many kinds of degrees that are included in the education section. The most common types of degrees in the United States are 1. AA or AAS, which is Associate of Arts or Associate of Applied Science. These are 2-year degrees from community colleges and technical schools. 2 is BA or BS, Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science. These are typically 4-year degrees from a college or university. 3, MA or MS, Master of Arts or Master of Science. These are graduate level degrees from a university. Number 4 is MBA, Master of Business Administration. This is a graduate degree in business from a university. And 5 is PhD. A doctorate degree is the highest level degree from a university. Like the work experience section of a resume, job seekers list their educational history in reverse chronological order, beginning with the most recent or current degree program. Here is an example job seeker, Michael Johnson, who attended 1 university and earned 2 degrees. Notice how he begins with the name of the school and the location, that's city and state. In this example, he attended Cornell University in the city of Ithaca in the state of New York. On the next line, he lists his most recent degree, an MBA in General Management, which he completed in 2015. This is a graduate-level master's degree in business administration with a special focus or major in general management. Next, he lists his BA in sociology, which he completed in 2009. His Bachelor of Arts degree is a 4-year degree in sociology, is the subject area that he studied most. After listing the degrees, Michael includes an award that he earned in 2008 and 2009. In United States universities, Dean's List awards go to students who received very high grades at the end of the academic year. Many people put this information in their resume to show that they were very successful in their courses. Let's review part 4 of the resume, education. In this section, job seekers show each educational experience separately in reverse chronological order. Each entry must include the name of the school, the location, the degree received, major or subject area, and the year of graduation. The addition of awards or honors is not required, but does provide good information about a future employee. Job seekers include all of their education to show that they meet the required education level for the position. Being very successful in one's education often means that a job seeker is serious and a hard worker. Now we will move on to the next video. Hello! In this final video of Unit 2, we'll talk about completing your resume. There are still some things you will need to do to make your resume the best resume you can write. One of these things has to do with presentation. In other words, how your resume looks. Is it easy to read? Does it look good? Does it follow standard resume rules? The next thing we'll discuss is proofreading and editing your resume. This means reading back over your resume after you have written it and making sure it doesn't have any mistakes. Finally, we'll talk briefly about the two most popular types of resumes, functional and chronological. After this video, we hope you will feel confident and ready to research and write your own resume. The assessment that follows this video will ask you to write your own resume and to read someone else's resume. To begin then, let's look at presentation. When an employer reads your resume, you want to be sure you make a great first impression. You can achieve this not only by having the skills, qualifications, and experience, but also making sure your resume looks professionally written and is easy to read. As we've said before, you don't want to give an employer an excuse to throw your resume in the recycling can. After all, an employer will probably read many other resumes before getting to yours. So if it doesn't follow what we call standard formatting, it will not make a good first impression. Some examples of standard formatting include using a standard font, for example, Times New Roman, using bullet points, using lots of white space to make the resume easier to read, using bold text and indents to give more importance to information and show relationships between information. If we look in this good example of a resume, we can see each of these things. Beth Smith uses only two fonts, Calibri and Arial. Bullet points to summarize her skills and work experience, lots of white space, and she uses bold text and indents. The next thing you need to do after you finish writing your resume is to read through it a few times or get someone else to read through it after you. You should read the resume looking for mistakes in grammar, spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. If you are unsure of the rules for each of these things, ask someone who's an expert or read a reliable book or website that explains the rules correctly. Make any necessary changes so that your resume is free of any mistakes. Nowadays, most employers ask you to send your resume by email or upload it to a job website. But if you're planning on sending the resume through the mail, be sure that you use a good quality paper. In the United States, you can buy cotton paper that is more expensive than regular printer paper, but it makes all the difference. A better quality paper will make your resume stand out from the crowd. Lastly, you should think about which type of resume you should use. There are two common types of resume used nowadays, functional and chronological. Chronological is the one most commonly used. It lists your work experience and qualifications in chronological order, starting with the most recent first. It is the one most people use when writing a resume. On the other hand, a functional resume puts more emphasis on your abilities and less on your work experience. If you have just graduated from high school or college and don't have a lot of work experience, you probably want to emphasize your education and qualifications and not your work experience. Or maybe you are just returning to the workforce after being away for an extended period of time. For example, because of illness or having a child. A functional resume may be a better fit for you in this case. We will examine functional and chronological resumes in more detail in the additional resources at the end of the unit. For the moment, we hope you've learned in this video the importance of good presentation, proofreading and editing your finished resume, and the basic differences between functional and chronological resumes. It's now time you put the finishing touches on your own resume. Be sure to carefully and thoroughly research the job you're applying to, and try to remember all the things we discussed in this unit.